Hello there, welcome back. In this Backlot tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a superhero landing. We're going to be using the New York Street set. I like this set because it's really detailed and right out of the box gives you some really cool angles to work with. One of the things I like to do when I'm creating a project is I only work in scene view. Our camera view is irrelevant for the time being. So in the upper right hand corner of the scene view, you'll see this full screen icon, and click it once. That will eliminate your camera view. And drag your timeline down so that your window for your scene view is a little bit bigger. And I'm going to zoom out using the mouse wheel. And that should give me some room to work with. I also want this animation to be about 10 seconds long. So I'm going to go down to the timeline, click on this yellow line, and drag it out to about the 10-second mark. Now we need to add our superhero. So we are going to go up to the plus icon, click that to bring up the library, and we're going to click on characters. Now it doesn't really matter which character you use, but take into account their clothing. You want them to actually look like a superhero. So today I'm going to use Leon because I think he's pretty badass looking. He's already got a hood on, so he's kind of dressed for the part. Once I've placed him in the scene, I'm going to go down to the hierarchy window at the lower right hand corner of your screen, and I'm going to double click on Leon to snap our scene view camera to him. I'm going to rotate him around using the E key, click and drag to rotate him around so that he's facing forward. That looks about right. Once you've got him placed, you can hit the W key to bring up the position axis controls. Click on that red axis. It'll turn yellow when you're over it. Click and drag to move him forward. Get him in just the right spot. Now what you want to do is figure out, okay, how far into this video is he going to land? Now a hero landing is quick, so I'm going to suggest you go to about maybe the half-second mark. We'll go to 31, close enough. We're going to scroll down in our timeline window to our characters, to Leon, to his transform tab. And we're going to create a keyframe for his position. We're going to go back towards 0, but really only go back a few tenths of a second. And we're about there. Go up back to your scene view, using your mouse wheel, zoom out so that you can get a big overall view of the scene. Grab that green handle, click and drag to bring him up into the sky. That's where he's going to start. You're going to go down, create a keyframe for his position, and then hit the space bar to play back the scene so far. That's not bad. We're going to go and double click on Leon in the hierarchy window to snap back to him. Let's hit the space bar. Not bad. A little abrupt. So we're going to take this starting keyframe down here. We're going to click it. We're going to drag it left just a little bit. I think that's good. So, he may be a superhero, but he still has to react to landing. So we're going to come right to this keyframe where he lands, click the animation box. It's going to bring up this feature, which lists all the different categories, but you've also got a search box. So we're going to type land. Landing and jump is the one you want. It's third choice, at least on my version it is. Clicking the play button will loop it for you so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. And it's just him, his legs kind of absorbing the impact of landing. Making sure you're still at that keyframe where you positioned him for landing. You're going to come up here, click this plus sign. And what that's going to do is it's going to add that landing and jump animation clip to that point in the animation, so that when he comes down and lands, it's timed perfectly so that his legs absorb the impact. But it's a short clip, landing and jump. And we need him to do something else after he lands, otherwise he'll just default into that kind of standing pose, and it's very abrupt. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to some magic animations. Up in the search box, you're going to type magic, hit enter. You want to look for idle arms waving. You're going to add that. And what that does is it's kind of that taunting, waving his arms like he's like, I'm going to do some magic pose. You're going to take that clip, you're going to click it in the timeline, and you want to drag it so that it overlaps the landing jump clip to create a smooth transition between the two. So what I like to do is, even before he's done standing up, kind of have that next clip start about there. It makes the transition a little longer and it's a little smoother. His feet still slide, but that's okay. And you can take this idle arm waving clip on the right end of it, click and drag, and that will loop it for as long as you want. We're not going to loop it for the rest of the animation, but this gives you some room to work with. So he comes down, lands, goes into this pose. He's doing some magic. Now we're going to have him do some real magic. So he's starting his magic here. We're going to click and drag this left. That's about where we're going to go into our next animation. We're going to come up here, leaving magic in the search box. You're going to go down to magic, attack, levitate. And you're going to click the plus sign to add that to Leon. What that does is he lifts up into the air. He's kind of continuing that, waving his hands as if he's doing magic. And then, boom, he kind of expels whatever magic he's been working on. And then he floats back down. So, got him kind of doing the magic there. I'm going to take this magic attack levitate clip, and you want to drag it over so that it overlaps that notch mark that indicates the loop on idle arms waving. And it kind of smoothly floats on up into the air. Lands. And he comes back down. Now, when he comes back down, need him to do something else, because now we're at about 5.5 seconds in to a roughly 10-second animation. Again, go to your animation tab. You're going to look for preparing a magic spell right here. And what that does is he's kind of got his hands at his side like he's building a ball of energy. Spoiler. We're going to take this clip, the preparing a magic spell, and we're going to drag it to again overlap the previous animation clip so that you create a smooth transition between the two. So he comes down onto the ground, and you probably maybe drag it over a little bit more so that as soon as he goes into the ground, he goes into that next animation. And again, you can extend this as well. This little black hash mark indicates the loop point. Comes down. And then you can go past it. You go to your animation tab, and you're going to look for Mage Attack right hand. And that's just this. It's kind of expelling, again, whatever magic he's been creating. You're going to overlap it. He's going to throw it. And then he's done with that spell. So now we're going to have him exit the scene. We're going to go back up to the animation library. I'm going to type jump. And this first choice, jump high, is what we're going to use. We're going to add that. I'm going to overlap it with the previous animation clip, which is Mage Attack, so that he comes up after he does his spell and he jumps up. The animation ends right about there. So what we're going to do is, as soon as he leaves the ground, really right before, we're going to give him a position keyframe, and then just past it, we are going to go ahead and take Leon back up into the sky. Don't forget to give him a position keyframe. We're going to double click Leon in the hierarchy window, and it will snap to wherever he is in the animation. If you go to here where he's back up in the sky, double click it, and there he is up in the sky. But for now we want to see how that ending clip turned out. We're going to back up to about here, hit the space bar, and he just leaps out of the scene. Not bad. So we're about the 10-second mark, and here's your animation so far. Lands, does some magic, comes back down, does some more magic, throws that magic, and takes off. Pretty cool, huh? So we're going to give him some actual magic. So I think best thing to do is when he's doing this bit, that he's actually levitating and then throwing this van. So what you're going to do is you're going to click anywhere on the scene besides Leon. And right above your timeline, below the scene view window, you're going to have this edit environment button, and you're going to click it. This yellow frame is going to appear around your scene window, and suddenly items in the scene can be selected. We're only worried about this van. So you're going to click it, and this Make Editable button is going to turn blue. You click it, it's going to give you an hourglass while it thinks about what you're doing. And now you can no longer select that van in the Edit Environment module because you've made it editable. So you're going to go down here to the lower right and click Return to Scene. And now you can click on that van or Leon. So we're going to click on that van. And so when he lands and he starts doing this, that's about when our van is going to lift off the ground. We're going to lift it up like so. And as he starts to levitate himself, we're going to have the van kind of climb even higher. So it doesn't exactly look like it's levitating, does it? So what we're going to do is, at this keyframe, the van selected, we're going to hit the E key and bring up our rotation handles. And we're going to tilt it that way, tilt it this way, and bring it forward again to the next set of keyframes. We're going to tilt it forward, maybe this way this time. That's a little more realistic. So this is about the point where he throws it. So we want to have it still be levitating. So we're going to come forward to about right there. And we're going to bring the van forward. We're going to bring it over here so that it's not hitting that tree branch. And we're also going to rotate it again. Position and rotation keyframe right there. And so there. That looks a little more like a van that's being levitated. Maybe we'll take this set of keyframes, drag them over here just a little bit so the movement's a little more subtle. And then as he throws it, we're going to make the van. You want to watch here, make sure it's not going to hit Leon. He wouldn't want to hit himself with the van. That would be embarrassing, if not hilarious. So we're going to zoom out so we have a bigger view of the street. And we're going to take that van and send it to the other end. We're going to give it a position and rotation keyframe just to be sure. Double click on Leon and then backtrack. Might be a little too fast, so we're going to drag these last two keyframes. Drag them over just a little bit. We didn't need the rotation anyway. Not bad. Not bad at all. Although I accidentally dragged that rotation keyframe to the beginning, so we're just going to delete that first rotation keyframe. Not bad. So now that he's thrown the van, what's he doing here? So a neat trick that I've learned in Backlot is that you can use a point light. So we're going to go back to our library, go to the main library window, and just type in point light. Click it, and then click in the scene somewhere. Now your point light is invisible. So you're going to want to move it forward. Go over here to the right side where you have your point light controls. We need to make this something ridiculous for the moment. So we're going to make it 5,000, make it 50,000. That's better. Just so that it's visible. Now, it's worth noting, you might want to add some fog. Go back to your point light. and bring this last slider, which is the slider for the reach, how far the light's influence goes in the scene. So we've made it incredibly powerful, but not very, we've made it incredibly powerful, but the light doesn't go very far. Otherwise, what happens is it creates these weird shadows, because it's not quite sure what's going on. So we decrease it so that it really only affects right there where his hands are. About 0.5. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to make this light. You go up to the power, add a couple zeros. Why not? That might be one too many zeros. So as he comes down here, that's about when you want to start your light keyframe. So what you're going to do is go down on your timeline, go down to the light object, point light. Underneath of it you have several things you can keyframe. And right now we are going to do the range. And we're actually going to make this, let's make it 0.2. That's this little tiny ball of light. And then you can maybe add another 0 back in. That's pretty good. We are going to, while we're at it, we're going to add a transform keyframe. Rotation is not going to make a difference. I'm going to back off that just a little bit, make its range 0. So what happens is that as he does that, the ball of light appears. And you can make this a little more gradual if you want by stretching these two keyframes out from each other. So now we want to position that light. So we're going to find our first keyframe we created for its position. And we're actually going to delete it because we want to position it once it's glowing. That's a little close to his left hand. We want it more right in between his hands. That is the spot at which he's creating it. And that way it actually lights his hands. Okay, that looks about right. Now, let's give it some cool effects. So right here, you're going to keyframe its range. Up a little bit. 0.1. That makes it disappear. So let's make that 0.15. There you go. And then we'll come up here. Make it 0.2 again. 0.15 again. 0.2, maybe make it 0.21. So you just kind of get this pulsing effect. And you're going to do that up until the point at which I made that one 0.8. Down to here. 0.23. You can vary it just to give you a regular glowing. 0.14. That's about where he throws it. So at that point, you want it to be at its max. So we're going to make that 0.25. How about that? Now at that point, he brings his hand up and throws it with the right hand. So we want that ball, as it reaches peak power, is going to go up towards his right hand. So we are going to create a position keyframe for it. And you want to watch his hand and see how it moves. Hand comes up, right about there it stops. So we're going to position the point light about where his hand is. It really should be kind of in his hand. Yeah, just like that. Position it. So it seems to move before his hand does. So just going to tighten up those keyframes on the point light itself. That looks pretty good. Move it forward just a little bit. Move it a little bit closer to his hand. About there. Keyframe that. And then as he throws it, which is in the next second or two, what you want to do is see where that lines up. And throw it in that general direction. Again, using the mouse wheel to zoom out, we're going to just take that ball and throw it down the street in a very short amount of time. Click on Leon. And it might be a little too fast. So we're going to take that last keyframe we're going to get rid of it. We're going to go a little bit further. Because you do want to see the point light move. I'll just throw it just past the camera. That's not bad. Let's bring our camera back by clicking twice on the full screen icon in scene view. Let's put Leon in our camera view. Click on the focus icon and then on Leon so that it's focused on him. Run through our animation. Yep. There he is, levitating the van. We're going to need to change our camera angle. Now look, there's our magic ball. He throws it just past the camera. So let's make our camera view 50 degrees, or 50 millimeters. We're going to pan up just a little bit so that when he's levitating that van, we can still see it. Not bad. So here's our whole animation. Lifts the van, throws it, makes the magic ball, throws that. So I think what we want to do is when he comes down, he conjures this. I think that point light should be moving a little bit. It's not a static object. So we're going to create a couple more keyframes for its transformation. So from the minute it appears, let's create a keyframe for position. Let's go a little bit down the timeline a little bit. We're going to move it just a little bit. We're going to then scroll forward a little bit more. Maybe move it down so it's kind of got that hovering effect. Keyframe is position. And then once more. And it's just very subtle movements. Because what it'll give you is this kind of bobbing effect. And it's just subtle enough that it's not quite a static object. And in the camera view, it's not even quite as noticeable, so we can even move it up a little bit, exaggerate it just a little bit. There we go. And then last step, finalizing your camera view. So you want to figure out right when he lands, where's your camera want to be? You want to be right on him. So you're going to create a transform keyframe right here for your camera. You're going to back up just a little bit to when he's in the air. You're going to pan up so that you can see him and create another keyframe. And that way your camera follows him to the ground. So then once he's on the ground, and he starts levitating that truck, the camera may want to be in a different spot. So maybe you've moved over a little bit, maybe even kind of rotated, create a transform keyframe, kind of slide around him right to the point where he starts to levitate. Drag that over. And once he starts to levitate, by the time the truck gets up there, you want your camera to have panned up just a little bit. And you're just going to create a transform keyframe for the whole camera. Once he's thrown that truck, you move the camera just a little bit, like you kind of got out of the way. And then once he's back down on the ground, pan, maybe even slide towards him just a little bit. Create a transform keyframe. As he starts to create that magic ball, you slide that camera over, rotate it just a little bit, create another keyframe, and boom. Final touch, adding a little bit of handheld motion to the camera. And you've got your animation. About half an hour. Now, for extra fun, you can bring a second camera in. I'll just make this, I'll make this another 50. Slide that over. Focus it on his hands. So as he comes in, that magic ball appears. About here, we'll probably pick up that shot. So we're going to go down to that second camera, create a transform keyframe for all of these aspects of the transform module. Bring the camera around. Can add another camera for another dramatic angle. And your secondary cameras, even if you're only using a short portion of them, when you're doing a scene like this and you just want to really quickly create something from multiple angles, have them render the whole timeline. Because the truth is, if you had multiple cameras rolling, they'd be rolling the whole time, regardless of how much of the footage you're going to use from any given camera. So we want to pick up right about there. Figure out what is it that we want to pick up. This is where you'll kind of have the freedom to get real creative with whatever you're doing. Here's a little blurry. Let's make sure we're focused on Leon. The point light doesn't look like it's flying in the direction he's throwing it. So let's fix that real quick. Yeah. So we're going to take that third camera, which is camera 3, right about there, where we're going to use transform keyframe. Let's double click camera 3 to snap our view to it. Down. And just prior to that, maybe when he's making that little ball of magic, let's lower it just a little bit. Transform keyframe so the camera kind of rises up. Try bringing that camera down a little bit more so the rise is a little more dramatic. You'll probably make that rise a little bit slower too by stretching these out. There you go. You have all 3 cameras ready to go. Click on export. Remove the watermark. We're going to export 4K at 60 frames a second. Make sure all your cameras are selected. And export your shot. Now, using your favorite nonlinear editor, you can add music and cut those clips together. One advantage to rendering out the entire timeline from every angle is one advantage to rendering every camera shot out for the duration of the timeline is that it'll make them a lot easier to sync up in your nonlinear editor. Once you've exported all of the shots, add your favorite music and bam, there's your scene. I hope this tutorial helped, and if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message or post it in the comments below.